Om Asato Ma Satgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityurma Amritam Gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. O Mother of the Universe, Janani Mother, bless us all, hold our hand, take us across the three universal forms of religion, unity in all religion, towards one goal, and that is achievement of God, the supreme, universal. Our prayers and blessings for Gurudeva Paramahamsa Yogananda, Sri Sri Yukteswar Giri Lahiri Mahasaya, Mahavatar Babaji, Krishna, with the prayer of Yoga Kshema, Brahma Vishnu Maheshwara, with the prayers to the Divine Mother, Param Brahma, Brahma Rupi Mother, the unified Svaguna Brahman, Nirguna Brahman in one. Prayers to Mother Saraswati, Mother Lakshmi. Swami Sri Vivekananda, may his blessings be on us for understanding, bringing in today's session. Holy Mother and Paramahamsa Ramakrishna, may the blessings of all be upon us so that we may, toward the end of the session, be some way wiser, more knowledgeable, and take us from darkness to light and ignorance to bliss, unreal to real, and immortality. Thank you for some of your. Please come on onto the screen. I would like to see your face. And good to see you all. Today is the happy Easter. And it's a very powerful day. And this is the time which we should realize the symptom of the ancient in India. And so was it in pre-Jesus the Nazareth. During this time, remember, you all know the stories. It is Israel, Jerusalem. And that time, the apparent message to the priests, and the priests in turn gave it to everyone, that if you want your sins to be washed for whatever wrong things you have done, you have to wash it with the blood of an animal. And this process, as you know, it used to be there all over the world. It is still there in many parts of the world. And it is there in India too, in some parts, though animal sacrifices that more or less are prevented now around the world, but it is still going on. At that time, however, the animal before sacrifice had to be scrutinized for no spot, no marks, and a particular age, and etc., etc. And with the blood of the animal, the purification of the souls of the human beings, of the family, of the group, or of the kingdom and the emperor used to be done. Till God came into the vision of those priests and told them I am not anymore satisfied with the blood of the animals, and that should be stopped henceforth. I need a special kind of a blood. And this blood will not only purify your sins of now, this blood will purify the sins of all which has been done before by the mankind, right from the Adam and the Eve, as per the biblical story, of the current time. And it will purify all sins ever to be done by those ignorant and those who are unreal to this world. It shall all be taken off by that one special blood. And you all can understand. And that is how Jesus was born. And Jesus knew about it. And Jesus gave his blood. In other words, this is why in the Christianity, you have the flesh and the blood at the end of the prayers. This blood is the symbol of purification for all of us. Understand it, rejoice, and whether of faith of Christianity or Islam or Hinduism of any kind, whether Sikhism, Jainism, or of Buddhism, this is a special time for the world. Just imagine, Jesus Christ started off a religion. Those of you who have heard the Thursday sessions which we have, I'm certain many of you may not have heard. Listen to it again. These are all secrets from the scriptures. I am being guided to discover them. And you know what? While discovering, I could see that today our digitized world is really a supermarket of religion, of all religion. You want to know anything, you could go ahead and find it. Any religion, any detail, even the most secret of the secret books are available today for you to go ahead and get them, buy them, or get the PDF format, or become a member of a particular site and they will reveal to you. It's available. And this is the time when we should remove all these sins and all these sufferings from our world. Take on the journey. We already are obviously spiritually blessed, and that is why we have come in together, whether we are 1 or 2 or 10 or 15, it is not important. Important is even 1 if we an exchange. And if you and I, each one helps one, just imagine the chain of reaction which it would start off. So take it on. This Jesus of Nazareth was born to give his blood for the purification of all sins before, after, and during that time. Just see, for 30 silver coins, he was deceived. Jesus of Nazareth was deceived. And that deception was known to Jesus. In the Last Supper, he talked about it, that one amongst you are going to deceive me. And yet, during the journey of his crucifixion, so much of pain, so much of torture, and yet he continued to take on the way, when he is being lashed and pierced with the spear and poked with swords and with the heavy nailed whips slashing his back with that pain, yet he kept healing people. Somebody who's never seen in his life, born blind, said, "Oh Jesus, may Lord, Save me. Let me see this word of God. And Jesus said, do you believe that I, the Jesus of Nazareth, can heal you? And they said, yes. And he said, as thy belief goes, may that happen to thee. And it happened. Somebody who has never walked in his life, somebody who is suffering from incurable disease, a woman who was bleeding away to glory, they all were healed. And even at the time of the crucifixion, his last words were, oh God, they are ignorant. They do not know what they're doing. Please forgive them. He prayed for forgiveness. He showed that ultimate mercy. And you all recollect each one of our avatars, they have all come to this earth and have prayed for the people and brought an end to the suffering for everyone by praying, by giving certain ways. Buddha came out and talked about the four sufferings and gave the eighth pathfold. That yes, the fact that you're born, you will have suffering, but there is a way to get out of it, and these are the ways. And similarly, every other great avatars have done. As per most of the religion, Jesus, as soon as we talk about it, we think about the name that we have heard so often, and it has been ingrained into our mind and the brain, that Jesus is Son of God. Most of the religion consider, including the Jews, the Islam, Buddhism, etc., considers him to be an incarnation, avatar, and not Son of God. But you all know about the Gospels of the Old Testament, and the New Testament was John. Of the Old Testament, Mark, Luke, and Matthew, they have come out with, they call it symptomatic. They have a certain portion of each one of them. If you circle wise represent each one of them like that, let's say this is Matthew, this is Luke, and this is like that, you will see the Mark, Luke, and Matthew, they are encircling each other and overlapping. In Matthew, you have majority part of Luke as well as Mark. And so do the Luke and the Mark. And like this, they call it symptomatic of the Old Testament. The New Testament was written something like approximately 3 years after, and carry on written on that, in which in John, Jesus has been declared as Son of God, not the one in the Old Testament. Buddha preached, gave sermon for 45 years. Moses, 10 commandments. And these 10 commandments, he preached for 40 years. Muhammad for about 25 years. And one of our greatest prophets, Swami Vivekananda, approximately 10 to 11 years. And just see, as per John, he preached for 3 years. As per Mark, Luke, and Matthew, only for 1 year. As per resurrection of Jesus Christ, Paramahamsa Yogananda's a powerful book of the second coming of Jesus Christ. Those of you who've seen this, a very powerful book by Paramahamsa Yogananda. He's written it down for us to know about his second coming. That is that Easter Sunday. Today, as symbolically we are celebrating, Jesus rose again. His body was brought down by one of his disciples, took the permission from Philip, who allowed him. Before allowing, he asked the soldier, ensured that Jesus is dead. And they pierced him with with a spear, and said, yes, he is dead. They took the body, wrapped it, anointed with very special condiments and spices to protect the body, and took it to the cave and left it there with a big boulder so that it cannot be moved, covered it, went and rested. Next morning, Lady MacDonald came down and saw the body is gone. And Jesus had said, I shall rise again. Just like recollecting from autobiography. Those of you know, I must have read it. Lahiri Mahasaya had told his wife, I'm going to leave my body, but do not burn my body. I shall resurrect myself. Unfortunately, she was at that time so grief-stricken. Before Lahiri Mahasaya died, he left a message with his favorite disciple, Pranab. Pranab came all the way from Haridwar as soon as he got the message 2 days before he left his body. But when he arrived, the body was already taken by the rest of them, and the wife forgot to tell them not to burn the body. And the body had already started burning when Pranab came to hear about it, and he rushed to the body. He had also was given the message by Lahiri Mahasaya, do not burn the body. But body had already half burned, 3/4, 1/4 burned. Exact details I am not aware. It just says it was already in the process of burning, so they couldn't resurrect. But Jesus had said, and Lady MacDonald came and saw the bodies missing and realized he has risen again. Thereafter, as per those of you I've shared with you all on Thursday, in the volume 1, if you see, and the 5, serial number 5, Paramahansa Yogananda's research discovery says that, I will read it out. He says, the unknown years of Jesus' life, his sojourn in India, how he came to India, how he lived here for, as per the Western theories, Paramahansa Yogananda does not say how many years. As per the Western theory, he lived here for 17 years in India. And as per the film, you can Google it. Jesus lived in India by FTII, Film Division Institute of India, Government of India, certified, government stamp, Ashok Stamba there, took on that film. It's a very beautiful film. It talks about one of the greatest of the mystery, that the Messiah who came and talked and preached and practiced the word of God with the Kashmiri and the lay toys, that segment. He traveled around. He had gone to even Mathura, Vrindavan. He walked all the way via Lahore. Mother Mary was traveling with him as per the story, as per the writing and claims. And Mother Mary left her body in Lahore. And Jesus continued to walk to India. And goes on to say that the most intriguing mystery is this mystic Messiah is none other Jesus of Nazareth. And little later, on a similar place, you will find another film by BBC London. BBC London does not speak as clearly as Government of India, FDI film does, but it goes on to say, it is claimed, it is said that Jesus went to India, Jesus lived there. The reason when I often discuss with many, including very senior Christians who are the 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 senior most reverend in India today, one of them is Dr. William. He used to be, by the way, the mayor in Pune city, and then he resigned because he found a lot of corruptions. So he chose to resign, as he claimed to have spoken to me. When I was talking to him, he said, because, see, if the Christians in the world come to know, and if it is advertised that Jesus came to India and Jesus left his body here, lived for 17 years, then what is going to happen? The largest religion of the world today is the Christianity. And just 1 year of his preaching, maximum 3 years, as per John, the largest religion got created. Not only that, if you look at the Renaissance period, the before, the after, that Christian period, you will see almost every writings, every paintings, every exhibitions are on Jesus. Remember the famous picture of Michelangelo, where the Jesus' hand is extended and the human beings are going to hold his hand. All on Jesus Christ. Can you imagine what kind of a power he created around? And similar powers have been created by many other masters and avatars. They come again and again. In this case, as the staunch Christians claim, that the blood of Jesus was to purify all sins. So rejoice. But what has happened is we cry for everything in this world, particularly if something happens to our dear ones, particularly something happens to our children, we cry and shed tears. There is one of the famous Hollywood actress, when she heard about the statement about crying for God, Paramahansa Ramakrishna used to say the same thing. People cry for everything, for money, for relationship, and broken heart, and go and commit suicide. But who cries for God? If you take on the journey, if we close our eyes for just 1 minute right now, we'll close our eyes in the meditative, calming down the mind. Remember, sadhana chatushti, viveka, vairag, then shama, dama, uparati, samadhana, titiksha, shraddha. Those are the shata sampatti. This sampatti is wealth. And these wealth takes you to mumukshattam. Are the sadhana chatushti. And they're called shata sampatti, meaning they're the money. When you go for a travel, whether spiritual travel or go for a holiday travel or go for a religion travel, you need money. And this is sampatti, is the money in Sanskrit for your spiritual journey. You need this money, the journey. These are very essential. And this is what actually the Sermon on the Mount, this is in Christianity, the Sermon on the Mount by Jesus of Nazareth. And they're called Benedicts. These 8 treasures which he had left behind are, as per Christianity, after the 10 commandments, are the most sought for. And generally, like Leo Tolstoy has said, that these were the Sermon on the Mount were meant for the human beings to live on this earth and bring heaven on this earth. And if you look at this sermon, it is towards the purity of character. And notice what Vivekananda said, that education is the manifestation of the perfection. This is the schooling, college, studies, education. is the manifestation of the perfection already in man. Unearth this. What is Advaita Vedanta says? Aham Brahmasmi Tattvamasi, saying Prajnana Brahman, that awareness itself is vast. Brahman is vast. Link it now all together. I am Atman Brahman, Mandakya Upanishad. I am that Atman, which is that awareness, consciousness, soul, spirit, which is vast, which is infinite, which is everywhere, which was there before, which will be there now, which will be there in the future, which is there right now. Same message, if you find, is given by Jesus Christ. So let us get on with a little bit of the slides which my team has created beautifully for you, and share the slides. This one, this, this. Okay, happy Easter. Meditate with this Sermon of the Mount. I invite you, look at this picture and take on the journey for 1 minute. Meditate on that purity in heart. Little background to this purity. Jesus says, blessed are those pure in heart, because they shall see God. You and I love to see God, but we are not really crazy about God. Little background before you get into it. One young man came to Guru and said, when will I see God? He said, remind me tomorrow when we go for our bath. I will show you. So they went in the next morning, Banaras Kashi, the Shastramit God, in the morning early, Brahma Muhurta, before Surya Namaskar and the prayer. And they supposed to take 7 times dip. As they dipped, Guru held the disciple's head down and wouldn't let him come up. Initially, the boy stayed still. And then he started to wanting to come up. He wanted to breathe. And Guru wouldn't let him. Guru kept on holding him. And he started struggling and harder, and Guru held him. And eventually Guru let him off. And as he came up and he gasped for breath, Guru let him take 1 or 2 breaths. And Guru said, how do you feel? And he said, Gurudev, I felt I'm going to die if I don't get that breath. Gurudev said, when you feel for God like that, when you cry for God like that, then you will see God. Today, we cry for things to pack our house with, to give to our children. We cry and we are so restless. We spend so much of time in reading, talking, in acquiring wealth, solacing, counseling people. How much time are we really taking to discover that consciousness within, be benefited with the Christian principles of the blood which has been sacrificed by Jesus? Hardly. There is a monk, very senior, very famous, Advaita Brahma. He was approached by one of the disciples. Sire, please give me samadhi. And right in the beginning of the journey, and if you recollect, we used to talk about samadhi, samadhi. We all wanted samadhi. Sure, beautiful. It's such a sublime, beautiful example. It's called the deepest of the absorption, which Paramahansa Ramakrishna has known to us, recorded many pictures, Gospels of Ramakrishna talks about it, that he used to be almost continuously in absorption, at times 6 months together, not even able to eat. Somebody used to feed him to keep him alive. That absorption, naturally, we all wanted, we all asked for, we all prayed for. Bless us for samadhi. So this young monk asked the Guru. Guru said, samadhi. In Hindi, he said, I can give you in 2 minutes that experience. Notice the same samadhi was asked for Paramahansa Yogananda to Ram Gopal Majumdar when he went, page 131 to 141 in Autobiography Yogi, Tarakeshwar, and went on. And before leaving, he asked, would you bless me with samadhi? I want to experience samadhi. Ram Gopal Majumdar smiled and said, your guru will give it to you soon. But since you asked me, I will give you something. And he looked at it lovingly, kindly at Paramahansa Yogananda. Paramahansa Yogananda's writing that something started to happen. I felt so light and so blissful, so happy, energetic. And I walked. And I recollect while coming, I have been having a nagging problem of my backache, lower backache. I used to have that backache, particularly walking and walking. And suddenly that backache totally vanished after Ram Gopal Majumdar blessed him, who used to meditate 18 to 20 hours a day. Remember? Bihari told Paramahansa Yogananda, going little off track, but it's very interesting. It's coming into my mind to share with you. Bihari, who was his disciple, Ram Gopal Majumdar's disciple, told Paramahansa Yogananda that he meditates 18 hours a day. So Paramahansa Yogananda is telling, Sire, you meditate 18 hours a day? He said, yes, I meditated for 20 years, 18 hours a day. And I realized it is not enough. So I retreated. He goes on to explain to a more remote control in the mountain. And I meditated 20 hours a day. This is how the heritage of India and that samadhi, Vivekananda asked Paramahansa Ramakrishna. He was also blessed. And so were many great masters have given this blessing in India, most likely many other countries too, known, unknown to many of us. This samadhi, this monk at the Himalaya said, I can give you in 2 minutes. But before you get the samadhi, come to me with a purity in heart. This purity in heart, what exactly is it? Is the prologue before we sit, close our eyes for 1 minute, think only of God with this picture or with the picture of Krishna or Divine Mother or Shiva or Brahma or Gurudevas, anyone, or Jesus Christ. Think of God, supreme light, as Prakasham Prakashatu, as it is given in Advaita Shaivite in Kashmir. Whichever way, look at only think of God and bright light for 1 minute. Let us close our eyes and see. Gentle breathing. Focus your mind onto the coolness of the breath as you breathe in to the tip of the nose. As you breathe out to the warm part of the nose. And now shift your focus, attention to God. "15 seconds to go. You may open your eyes gently. Notice what I wanted you to experience. Be honest to yourself. Don't have to tell me. Just think in this 45 seconds, how much time really, with purity, could you only think of God? How much after a few seconds? For some, maybe 5, maybe 10, maybe 15, maybe 30. And then came the whole world surging in with different ideas and different thoughts and different chores to do. And this is what it meant. Blessed are those who are pure in heart. This is what the great saint in the Himalayas said, come to me with purity in your heart and I shall give you samadhi in 2 minutes. So our journey is this. This is what Vivekananda meant, that purify your soul, purify your heart, purify the spirit within you. And this is the Shata Sampatti, Sadhana Chatushti, with which we do. There is one of the Westerner went to an yogi and said, teach me how to meditate. So the yogi teacher started to teach him about yama and niyama. You remember ahimsa, satya, and those 5 and 5, 10 limbs before ayama and niyama. Before going on to pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, samadhi. This man said, yes, I've heard about all that, but I do not want to hear about them. You teach me how to breathe. You teach me how to sit. You teach me what is the correct posture, and you teach me how to go to samadhi. So it goes in Hindi very well, this particular statement. The Guru says, आप विकलांग योग सीखोगे या अष्टांग योग सीखोगे. Ashtanga yoga is 8 limbs. If I take away the ayama and niyama, 2 limbs are gone. There are only 6 limbs left. That means I am vikalanga, meaning my 2 hands are chopped off or 2 legs are chopped off. What do you want to do? This is what it exactly meant by, we want to do the practices. And we have great pride. When we seek for a guru, we want a guru. There is a man, he was a foreigner in India, in Calcutta, and happened to see. And we asked him, so what is the journey? How come you're in India? He said, I'm searching for guru. We said, how nice. So how long have you been searching? Guess what? He said, 20 years. 20 years he could not find a guru. Paramahansa Ramakrishna says, when you're really thirsty, you will drink that water, whatever form the water comes. Imagine you're in the desert, haven't taken any water for 3 days, 4 days. You will drink any water. Paramahansa Ramakrishna says, in Bengal, you have got those lots of ponds, and the ponds it's a very rich land. Ponds are filled with those hyacinth. There's little plants which float and cover the whole pond. And people come, remove it with their hand and fill up the water in the kalsi and go for the ceremony. So he says, you will drink that water if you're really searching for God. Anybody comes with any message for God, you will drink that. You will take him on. And as per those of you in this area know Dattatreya, he had 32 gurus and upagurus. So many teachers are there to teach you and learn from. But we have to be that pure in heart. With the purity in heart, we receive like a child. So let us get on with the rest of the slide. How do we go? So these beatitudes are the 8 blessings recounted by Jesus in the Sermon of the Mount. What happened? It's okay. And the Gospels of Matthew, Luke, and Mark talks about them. And it is in the Gospels of John, which is in the New Testament, which has been brought in and declared, John declares Jesus the Son of God, as we discovered. This is how in the Sermon of the Mount, the picture goes on like this. This was a mountain in which Jesus is to go up, and before, you remember a little bit about the Christianity, John the Baptist, we shared on Thursday, baptized in the water of Jordan River, Jesus Christ. Jesus wanted John the Baptist to baptize him. After the baptism, Jesus started preaching. But before he would preach, he went on to the desert for 45 days and practiced severe fasting. And during which, as he attained that oneness with God, the devil came and tried to entice him with several, but Jesus renounced all of them. He did not. Just like I've shared with you on Thursday, if you read in Katha Upanishad, Nachiketa did the same thing with the Yamaraj. And same thing happened here too. Jesus did, then he came back and he started preaching. But before he would preach in the morning, he would early in the morning, he would climb up the mountain, go onto a solitude and sit for an hour to 2 hours, collect his messages, come down and then preach to the people. And this is how the Gospels of Mark, Luke, and Matthew took part. This Gospels of John, as I shared with you, was after 3 years. This baptism you heard about, the dates in desert, and the story of Nachket. He says, blessed are the merciful. Another gospel. There are 8 beatitudes. The first, blessed are the pure, for they shall see God. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall receive mercy. Notice, Jesus, despite such severe pain, torture, and losing his life, yet he said, forgive them. It is not only this incident. There are so many thousands. You know Paramahamsa Ramakrishna. He took the entire, the terrible things that, as it is written down by Girish Ghosh, he took all his sufferings onto himself. And there are some other sufferings which he took it on for the throat cancer. And yet he did not show it to people. He was suffering. 3 days before he was to leave his body, even to a disciple who comes in, Hari Maharaj, and says, Thakur, how are you? He said, I'm okay. And no, sorry. He said, stand corrected. I have a lot of pain in the throat. I can't eat. I can't drink any water. And Hari Maharaj, Turi Maharaj, he said, but you look as if you're in bliss. And he smiled and laughed and he said, rascal has got me. Shala dhore pilachi. You know, Ramanujam, we talked about in the Advaita. We talked about Shankaracharya, Ramanujam. And Ramanujam had one of his disciples. His name is Qureshi. Ramanujam was another great enlightened master. He brought in this very special Advaita, Dvaita, and he brought the criticism and very enlightened master. He had this disciple Qureshi, one of the king in Tamil Nadu region, wanted to punish Ramanujam and his disciples for the path that he was taking and which the king did not like. Qureshi presented himself to take all the sufferings and allow Ramanujam with his disciple to escape. And the king asked one general to torture this Qureshi. And the general went to that extent that he blinded Qureshi, took both his eyes out. Years after, Qureshi was walking around and Ramanujam happened to see him, recognized Qureshi. He came and embraced him. And he said, Qureshi, the suffering you have taken to save me, ask me what you want. I shall grant it to you. Think, Qureshi saved Ramanujam and his disciples' life, lost both his eyes in terrible pain from the general. Ramanujam asking Qureshi, ask me what you want, a boon. And Ramanujam was that powerful that his blessings will come true. You know what Qureshi asked? He said, the person who has created this blindness and suffering to me, may he witness and realize God before me, give me that blessing. Can you imagine? Qureshi didn't say, forgive him. He said, may he realize God before I do. And Ramanujam, just listening to that, went into ecstasy, went into samadhi. This is called, those who are merciful, they will certainly receive mercy. There are a couple of examples. Predecessors of Ramanujam, there was a Tamil poet. And he says, how can my love be lost? I am merciful to everyone. Even when I die, and he said, where you bury my ashes after burning, the grass which grows on top of it, even the grass will wave in the wind, welcoming the love of God. And the poet prays, I cannot ask you to condemn my sin, because my sin are so much, like yours and mine. We are sinful. We are hoping for the blood of Jesus will purify the whole universe, not just Christianity, everyone. He says, I cannot ask you, God, to purify me because my sins are enormous. But like you test devotees, I want to test you. And what is the test? If you can show your mercy to me and purify me, then I will say, you are truly God merciful. You will pass my test. Goes on to, blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. This mourning is not mourning for our sons and daughters or some favorite relative or COVID-19, somebody died who was close to me, my uncle, my friend, my brothers, sisters, or in-laws, but it is mourning for this world. Not satisfied with this world. I know this wealth is zero. I need to put not lots of zeros, but put one before the zero. And that one is my awareness of you. When I can truly mourn, instead of crying, how many really cry for God? How many are truly pure in heart? I've quoted the golden rules of Matthew 7.22 and the Lord's Prayer in Matthew 6.9.1.5, just for those of you who would like to refresh. Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall truly. Blessed are those who are poor in spirit, for there is the kingdom of heaven within them. What does this poor in spirit mean? It means those who are truly humble. It is not that I know what kind of a guru I must have and I'm searching for 20 years, I can't find. Gurus are there. Only thing, I need to bow down to understand who's this Guru and to understand. Then only the Guru will reveal his secrets. Poor in spirit, the humbleness. When the humbleness comes in, then only I would awaken. There is a guy who came to a Zen master, and Zen master started to tell him about Zen meditation. He said, "Oh, yes, yes, I have read about this part in the book." The Zen master started to tell him something else from another book. He said, "I have read those too. It is quoted by so and so, so and so." He had all the theoretical knowledge, book knowledge. The Zen master said, I understand the problem. He said, "Let's have some tea." And he started pouring tea in his little cup. I've attended such a tea ceremony. It's so beautiful and sublime. And the Zen master kept on pouring. The tea started flowing, overflowing. And this young disciple said, "Sir, sir." Many people wonder whether he was an American or a European. "Sir, it is overflowing. Stop, stop." And the master said, "Yes. How would you taste my tea until your cup is empty? Empty your cup. The poor in spirit is emptiness, humbleness. I'm ready to receive. If my hand is filled with stones, how will I throw it off and take the holy water or get it filled with the wealth of this earth? Gold or jewelry or diamond, whatever you call. I am holding on to my stones. I have to let them go. Then only the hand is free with the prayers. Blessed are those who are meek, for they shall inherit the earth. How can it be? Our teachings are to the children. Fight your way out. You think God is going to come and give it to you, those things? If you want your gold and silver and money, you have to work for it. Go and fight out, reach, win, become toppers, become first. Whereas here he said, those who are truly meek. And this meekness is once again attuned to the humbleness. For they shall inherit the earth, because they are open for receiving the wealth of the universe. The universe is waiting. The consciousness is everywhere. But look at you and me. We are unconscious of our consciousness. Blessed are those who are righteous, for they shall be blessed and gifted. Righteous is not only being truthful and being purity in heart. Righteous is knowing these are all zeros, but one alone is true, and one alone. Blessed are those who are merciful, because they shall obtain mercy. Sister Teresa of Jesus, you have read in autobiography Yogi, she never used to eat anything. And on certain days, her wound, exactly as the Jesus's wound in her body, in her palm, in her feet, in her head, used to start to bleed on its own. She saw in her vision that a glowing gentleman comes in, and glowing this figure. Before Sister Teresa could ask him, "Who are you?" This figure asked Sister Teresa, "Who are you?" He wanted to check what his Sister Teresa says. Sister Teresa says, "I am Teresa of Jesus." She had no other identity. I'm Teresa of Jesus, only of Jesus. And she asked, "Who are you?" And notice, Jesus said, "I'm Jesus of Teresa." This is called the true love for God. Ramakrishna Paramahamsa is talking about the same thing. Tie up the knowledge of the wisdom of the Vedanta, and then only go ahead and practice anything that you want. You want to be a great Samaritan and do great work for the society, go ahead. You want to go to the mountain Himalaya and start renouncing the world, go ahead. You want to stay in the family, play the role of a good husband, good wife, good father, good mother, good daughter, good son, go ahead. But remember, You are the lotus in the pond of water. You are not attached, you're detached. So remember, Christians find the blowing of the important lessons the following in this sermon. Their positions in the earth are not important, that people should not worry because God will take care of them. It doesn't mean don't work. You work. Yes, you pray and then work. People should not judge each other and blame each other and fight. The fathers of the desert, I'll take a few minutes more. I got 3 minutes left. After Jesus left his body, the desert fathers, some of them retreated to the desert and started fasting and mourning like Jesus. One day, two of them, I've quoted this story. It's so beautiful a story. Two of them started to discuss with each other. One said, let us quarrel with those people in the family societies like them. He said, how do we quarrel? They'd forgotten quarreling. He said, you see this brick? You said, this stone is mine. And I will say, no, this is mine. So let me start. I am saying this stone is mine. Now, your turn. And that other man, desert father, said, yes, it is yours. Go ahead. Three saints at an island practicing in isolation. And a preacher comes all the way in a boat, comes to that island and started to teach them the message of Jesus and how to practice, which practice, after what. And they have been practicing in that isolation, in that island, these three, for a long time. They didn't know which way to do the process, but they were worshiping God. After the preacher taught them, and the preacher said, okay, 7 days are over, now I'm leaving. As the preacher was leaving, he got into the boat and he was going. Suddenly, the boatman who was taking the boat, he said, sir, they're coming for you. Coming for me? He looked back and he said, those three men, hand in hand, running over water, coming towards the boat. So he said, stop the boat. And they came running over the boat, and those three monks who were practicing in isolation. He said, sir, you told us after this to do that. We have forgotten that. Now, what do we do? Then naturally the priest said, you please go back and practice what you're practicing. The God will help those who truly seek his help. And this is the knowledge of the Vedanta of sadhana chatushti. Remember, viveka, knowing what is real, not is what real. Knowing what is not real, automatically going into vairag. You are in the world, but you're in the world like the butter which is come out of the same curd.
It's 12 o'clock.
Made of milk. I'll take a minute or two, and then you have a few minutes of questioning. You make curd out of milk, you churn it, make it butter. The milk, the curd could be mixed with water, but this butter cannot be mixed. Be in the samsara like that. Be like that lotus in the pond. Murky, dirty water. If you ever seen a lotus pond, but the beautiful lotus is blooming. Ramana Maharshi was asked by a disciple from Australia, sir, don't want to go back. He was a surgeon. I don't want to go back. I want to stay here. I'm in so much of peace. Ramana Maharshi said, don't be like the tadpoles under the lotus. All they do go around the stem. They don't even know the bloom and the fragrance of the lotus. You come like the honeybees from miles away, sip the nectar and go back and do your work for the God, for Lord, for this, for which the purpose on this earth. Then Shama, calmness of mind, a peaceful mind. Shama drishti all the time, even-minded to everyone, looking at that consciousness, awareness in everyone. Remember our experience about experiencing the flower, the sound, and the touch, taste, and smell. And then Dhamma, controlling of the senses. Go ahead, enjoy the world, but bring a balance. Don't have to become a monk. Don't have to become a destitute. Shama, Dhamma, Uparati. Once you control, don't let your senses go out, but bring it inwards towards you. Samadhana. Samadhana is enjoying that bliss, reading more, listening more, asking question, clarifying your doubt, questioning with the mind, not to check it out, but to say, I know great masters have left great wisdom. Let me learn more. I'm not understanding it. Titiksha, not giving up. Shraddha, respect for the text, for the scriptures. And then mumukshatta, mumukshatta, mumukshatta. This is Shata Sampatti, the wealth with which we go, is the awareness of the Advaita Vedanta. Hold Advaita Vedanta, practice whatever you like. And starting with, we are doing the very powerful Kriya Yoga practices, followed by all the time being conscious of the Advaita. That Turiya is the ultimate state in which we rest. This world is rest in Turiya. I am in Turiya. Remember the lessons learned in Mandakya Upanishad. Jai Gurudev. Any questions? Please, I'll open up the screen. I would love to see your face. If you would like to show your face, come. Any questions?
So Jai Guru.
Jai Guru.
You said we should be helpful to people, and so some people take undue advantage if you're nice. So how do you handle that situation, sir, practically?
Yes, very good question. And Harsha, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. Yeah. See, when we give something, we have to give not like I am giving. It is the God who's giving. I am the instrument. I am just an Amazon.com delivery guy. When the delivery guy gives you something, is he expecting anything from you? Is he expecting you to say, thank you very much for giving me this? If you do, it is your kindness and nicety. But he's not expecting anything. So the ancient Shastras say, who are you? You are nobody to give. Paramahansa Ramakrishna goes ahead and says that you say you want to help those destitute, you want to help those poor people. Who are you? Have you noticed, Harsha, when you do Ganga Arati in Kashi, Banaras, or Haridwar, or Rishikesh, Lakshman Jula, you take the water of the same Ganga and do the Ganga Arati with the same water. So you're taking that help from the supreme, this universe of whatever it is, food, article, help, time, condolence, and giving it to them. You're just an instrument. So the moment you have, very important, expectation, you get hurt. No expectation. You do it because I have been blessed to be given the opportunity. So I bow down and give it to you. This is the very famous Guru Nanak Ji when he used to roam around in Punjab and went to Pakistan. There used to be one Muslim gentleman whose name was Rahim, who was very fond of him and he used to always with him. Rahim was told by Guru Nanak Ji many a time to give. Whenever Rahim would give, he used to give, but he used to look away from the person to whom he is giving. And many devotees asked him, Rahim Ji, why do you look away? He said, how can I look into his eyes? Am I giving? I am not. It's my Guru, Guru Nanak Ji, it's God. Why Guru De Kripa? He is giving it to me. How can I look into their eyes? I look down. So if you serve like that, serving itself is a very beautiful thing you're doing, but do it with absolute clarity, like a child who's sharing a little bit of gem. He's 3, 4 years old. He doesn't know what is a thank you. I often tell children, parents, when they say, teach them, say thank you, say thank you. I said, wait, let them learn to be merciful, to be graceful. I hope that answers your question. Any
I
more
have a
questions?
question. I This is Swapnadeep. I wanted to ask you that if the resurrection of Jesus Christ was true, which was done by which is there in YouTube, which is done by the FTI, which is a government body, and there has been a lot of stories around it. There has been a lot of stuff that is there in the on the internet that we can read. Why is it not preached across or communicated across that this is what is happening?
Very good question, Dr. Deep.
I want to just complete that because we believe in Satyameva Jayate. So when we believe in Satyameva Jayate, the truth will appear. So why is that we are afraid of what Michelangelo's painting and what the Christians' feeling will be?
A very good question. This question had come to me also, Sapnadeep. And I did the research, and I'm delighted that I found from the text that the books that we talked about. See, firstly, those who believe, look at Prahlad, Hiranyakashipu, demon king. He got that boon from Brahma. I talked about it during the holy time. You all must be remembering the story. And he said,
Yeah.
now everybody will worship me as God. But his own son, Prahlad, he said, how can I worship you? I worship Vishnu. He's my God. And notice, Prahlad didn't want anybody to tell him to worship. He did not learn from anyone. It came to him automatically. So the one issue over here is those who believe on the faith, they will believe. No one can stop them. Not even their own father, even at the fear of the death, Prahlad did not. Nachiketa did not. Nachiketa went, completed his surprise. First boon he asked for Yamraj. When Yamraj said, I'm happy with you, I'll give you 3 boons for the 3 nights that you've stayed here, Katha Upanishad, Swami Vivekananda's most favorite Upanishad. His first boon was, please forgive my father for getting angry with me. And he went on, when I go back, notice he cunningly asked second boon. That means I'm going back. I'm not dead and staying with you. When I go back, my father should receive me happily, joyfully, and not stay angry with me. Notice he asked for that same similar kind of a boon. That politically and the world economists, they say, supposing it is known that Jesus Christ resurrected, traveled all the way to India. Natural question will be from everyone, why India? When he was in Jerusalem and Nazareth, from there, Israel, he come all the way through Pakistan. Why not say it Pakistan, let's say? But he traveled to East and India became his center. Why? So now, largest religion of the world, all the Christians are going to now travel to just for curiosity. If not, come and see where did Jesus come? What did he do? Those 17 years that he stayed here, what did he do? So what's going to happen? More and more people going to start visiting India, considering India is the holy land. India is Punya Bhumi, as Swami Vivekananda has given in his talk. President of India on that same talk, on the 3rd page of lectures from Colombo to Almora. Please read the page 3rd and 4th, it is given down there. He has said India is Purnabhumi. India is Purnabhumi. Jesus Christ knew it. He came and spent time. He learned tremendously from Upanishad, Vedanta. And there are books. Last teachings of Jesus Christ are from the Upanishads and the Vedanta, which he has, in addition to his own discovery, added them on. So now what will happen? Not only people will coming to India from those so-called superpowers, America, European, also they would bring along with them the money and their industries, and they would like to live where Jesus Christ lived, and India will become a superpower. So Vatican doesn't want it to be known. That's why they are silent. And this was revealed to be one of the by very senior padri of the Christianity. And I had the similar message, so they click very well. Satyameva Jayate, truth cannot be hidden. It's very nice, very powerfully remembered by you, Swapnil. Truth shall always stay. truth will glorify. The fragrance of the truth cannot be hidden. Fragrance of, I'm relating to Advaita now, of your consciousness, your awareness cannot stay hidden. It will work. Only thing, like the washerman, let us not utilize that diamond for scrubbing, the washing the clothes, utilize it for realizing God, realizing the truth. It is truth. You and I know about it. Let us utilize it to spread the word the way we, many people may not believe, have evidences ready to share with them. Plant a seed of truth.
Okay.
No one can stop that tree from growing. It will grow in their mind too. It will generate
Okay.
root and possibly will go to 330 feet tall Californian redwood oak tree.
Mm.
Any other
Thank
questions?
you.
Any other doubts? Let us end today. We prayed to our gurus, Kalpa Yogi Mahavatar Babaji, the deathless master. Krishna, grant us Yoga Kshema. Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara. Holy Mother, the Mother of the universe, Divine Mother, grant us the boon. Our Guru Devas, bless us. Paramahansa Yogananda, Sishyukteshwar Giri Lahiri Maasa, Swami Sri Vivekananda, Holy Mother Sharada, Paramahansa Ramakrishna. We pray on this holy Easter day to Jesus Christ, as has been done by our Guru Deva, Paramahansa Yogananda, as has been done by Swami Vivekananda, Paramahansa Ramakrishna, Holy Mother, and by all the centers of Vedanta all over the world on celebrating this Easter. It is celebrated and meditated upon Jesus Christ in such a manner in Belur Mutt near Calcutta, Bali. This celebration is done in such a beautiful manner. The Christians from all over West Bengal, even from Calcutta, instead of going to church, many travel, lakhs of people to Belur Mutt to sit still and meditate on Jesus Christ. May we be blessed by Jesus. May Jesus be born in our heart. And may we continue to practice with Advaita and generate that purity of spirit, purity of heart, so that the other impurities do not come and merge into our mind in meditation, but we naturally go into supreme dhyanastha state of meditation and samadhi, like Paramahansa Ramakrishna, again and again and again in this life alone. Akasha Shanti, Vayu Shanti, Prithvi Shanti, Agnyaya Shanti, Jalaspataya Shanti, Gau Shanti, Manaha Shanti, Chittaha Shanti, Graha Shanti, Nakshatraya Shanti, Uttaradesha Shanti, Dakshinaya Shanti, Paschimaya Shanti, Purvaya Shanti. Om. 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 May we be blessed by the Mother of the universe and all his children. and the Jesus Christ, so that we may remain closest children of our mother and grant us the boon of becoming one with mother in this life alone. Check.